Good morning, friends. I hope wherever you are, the sun is shining down on you. We're having a really gray and rainy day. We've had a couple of gray, rainy days in the past week. Well, last week I did a Facebook Live on the 7 reasons why most of us struggle to have emotionally honest conversations. We shy away from having tough conversations that need to be had with people we are in intimate relationship with. And that was part one of the video. I promised to do part two of the video, which is this video, where I'm going to share with you why it's important to practice emotional honesty and how to have emotionally honest conversations. So you can use these tips and really change your relationships for the greater good. The first thing I want to say is emotional honesty is a life skill we must master. Just like we pay our taxes and learn how to drive, we must learn to have conversations from a place of integrity and truth. Many of us don't have the skills, we don't know how to have these conversations, and so we take the easy route, which is shy away from having them, right? We are so invested in preserving the relationship at the level that it is at that we don't want to rock the boat. But here's the thing, if you are happy where your relationship is today by not having the honest conversation you need to have, you could end up not having the deeper bonds that you could create in the relationship if you had that honest conversation. The first thing I want to say about the importance of emotional honesty is it doesn't mean you're just going to blurt out what is in your heart or on your mind. It is important to speak your truth, but you must soothe your words with peace. And it was Neil Donald Walsh, the author of Conversations with God, who taught me this truth when I was working with him. He always said, speak your truth, but soothe your words with peace. Because here's the thing, nobody wants a bitter dose of the medicine. Sugarcoating the truth always helps. So be kind, be compassionate in the way that you have this honest conversation with someone you love or someone you work with, a coworker, a boss, a relative, a friend, a neighbor, right? If you don't commit to having these conversations, you're going to create more harm than harmony in the long term of your relationships. Truth telling sometimes has to fracture relationships, right? We don't always know that the relationship will move on in the current form once you speak the truth. But sometimes this is what needs to happen. Things need to fall apart before they can fall back together. And there's no guarantee that that will happen. Sometimes a relationship falls apart, and that's the way it's meant to go. There is no future. The relationship stayed as long as it was meant to, and one person had to stand up and say something truthful and honest, and the relationship fell apart. But if truth telling helps the relationship survive and move forward, then there's usually a deeper level of trust and bonding in the relationship. It is really important to practice the value of emotional honesty in the big 4 areas of our lives: relationships, finances, health, and work. If we can practice integrity in all these 4 areas of our lives will be free of drama, our lives will be free of pretending. We can be our authentic, real selves. So it's really important to bring that sense of honesty and integrity into the conversations we have as they relate to our health, our money, our work, and in our relationships. Now, most people struggle to have honest conversations because they don't know how the outcome will be, right? Like, let's say your friend said something to you that was extremely hurtful, or she said something about you to another friend behind your back, and you are struggling with that. but you keep going with the relationship. You don't bring it up. You don't have a conversation about it because you are afraid that if you had the conversation and told her the truth of how you felt, she would abandon you. She would walk out of the relationship and there would be no friendship beyond that. Here's the thing, we only control our end of the conversation. We need to go into these conversations knowing and trusting that we can control some of the things. We can be kind and compassionate in the way we speak to the other person, but we don't get to control how what kind of an outcome we receive at the end of having that conversation. We have no idea how someone else will respond to what we are saying, and we must be okay with the fact that the outcome is not in our control. So I'm going to tell you how I practice emotional honesty. These are the steps that I take. I typically have 4 steps in how I practice emotional honesty. And if this is useful to you, you may want to bring it into your life as well. The very first thing I do before I have to have a tough conversation with my spouse, my sibling, my friend, a peer, a mentor, anybody, is I take a moment to close my eyes and center. That for me is a spiritual practice, no matter what I'm doing. So I take a moment to close my eyes, center, and then I set the intention. And you can set the intention of peace. You can set the intention that this conversation blesses everybody who's having the conversation. You can set the intention for divine guidance to lead the conversation. No matter what it is, just begin by closing your eyes and setting an intention. That is typically what I do. Whether it is a phone conversation or an in-person conversation, it doesn't matter. The second thing I do is I call on a higher power to guide the conversation. Because if it is just me, then I can very quickly let my ego take over, right? You hurt me. You shouldn't have said this. I felt really bad by how you didn't come clean with me. I can just blurt things out mindlessly, allowing my ego to feel self-righteous and indignant and angry. And very quickly, I can want to be right and want to prove the other person wrong. So the second step for me is always I call in a divine power, whether that is the God of your understanding or divine consciousness, the universe, however you choose to address this divine energy that you feel connected to. So I call in a divine energy to guide the conversation and say, may this conversation be guided for the highest outcome. The third thing I do is I consciously try and let go of the need to control the flow of the conversation and the outcome, especially the outcome, right? We can be so attached to how we want the conversation to go and how we want the conversation to end. So we could go into a conversation with a friend and say, I really want her to see my point of view. I'm attached to her seeing my point of view. I want her to make me right. I want her to apologize for her part in it. And then I want the friendship to move forward, being even deeper and stronger. But that's not often how it goes, right? You all know this. You have been in conversations where it's gone terribly wrong, even though you set out with the noblest of intentions to be honest and truthful about what happened. So I consciously let go of the need to control the outcome. Now, if a divine power is guiding the conversation, then I must also trust that what happens is happening for the greatest good of all. And that's something I must be willing to surrender to if I'm willing to have an honest conversation. Hi, Agnes. Nice to see you. So that's really important. It's absolutely important to detach from the outcome. The reason why we struggle to have honest conversations with people we love and are in intimate relationship with is because we want the outcome we want, and then we are so scared that we won't get it. So then we back off and say, I'd rather not even speak about this, because what if he gets upset? What if she walks out? What if there's drama? What if they overreact? What if I lose the relationship? What if this goes completely wrong? I can't take that chance. I can't risk it. So I'm just going to keep quiet, let the relationship be what it is. So step number 3 is let go of the need to control outcomes. And then step 4 is simply practice. Emotional conversations are hard to have. Just like when you go into the gym, you can't on the very first day, if you haven't been working out for months, you can't go into the gym and pick up 10-pound weights and be okay, right? You're going to drop them, or you're going to end up with very, very sore muscles. So the best thing to do when you start on a fitness regime is to start small and then work your way up. It's the same with honest conversations. Don't try to have an honest conversation that is about a big issue, right? Like money. Those things are big triggers for people. So have honest conversations about small things and practice. Get it right. Learn how to speak. Learn to use the tools of communication to deliver your needs, your expression in a way that is real but also compassionate and kind. So these are my 4 steps in practicing emotional honesty. Let me review them real quick for you. Number 1, I take a moment to close my eyes, center, and set an intention. These days, it is mostly I offer this conversation to you, the divine, and I ask that you guide the way. So that's typically what I'll say. I just offer it up to the divine and set my intention for the highest good to be served. Number 2, I call on my higher power to guide the conversation. So I'll say something like, help me get myself out of the way so that you can come in and work your magic. You can come in and guide the conversation. Number 3, I let go of the need to control the outcome. I need to have this relationship. I need for her to be okay with my apology. I need for her to understand my part in this. I just let go of the outcome. And number 4, I practice. I just set the intention to show up and be honest in all my relationships and have really truthful conversations. And if a relationship is meant to go further, it will. If it doesn't, then I have to be okay with that. So the only way I can do that is by practicing to be kind and compassionate in the way that I speak to the person I'm speaking to the person I'm having the hard conversation with, and then being okay with the outcome, right? I have worked with seniors for 10 long years, and almost everyone in their 70s and 80s always says to me, I wish I had had that honest conversation with my brother, with my mother, with my son, so that I didn't have to regret the fact that we didn't have a deep connection. Maybe I should have just told her what was on my heart and in my mind, and maybe our relationship would have been strengthened by it, by my honesty. That's a regret that many people in their 70s and 80s have. Make sure that you don't have to walk around with that regret. You have the opportunity to make it right today. So if you haven't watched the first video on this, the 7 reasons why we struggle to have hard conversations, go back and watch it. It's on my Facebook business page. This same page, if you scroll down, you'll find it. And this is part 2 of the video where I speak about the importance of emotional honesty and how I practice emotional honesty in all my relationships. Thank you so much for those, to those of you who are watching live. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you are someone who tries to have honest conversations, let me know. Post a comment below the video. Or if you struggle to have honest conversations and you would like some guidance, post that as well. Ask a question. I'd be happy to share with you what I know. I've also posted a link right above the video to a blog post I wrote on the topic. So you can click on the link and read the blog post. It'll give you a little more to work with. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.